Hey, Pastor Steve Waldron. I hope you're having a great day in Jesus. This is Carlton Watkins' wife, who I think is now deceased. Carlton Watkins was the food administrator in Jackson College of Ministry when I was there, and then he went on to pastor an amazing church, and may still be there, in Dangerfield, Texas. He may be dead too. I don't know. But this is a fantastic book. This book with Jill Jasinski's book on the subject of hair, absolutely incredible, because you see, for the first 1900 years of Christianity, pretty much universally amongst Christians everywhere, they interpreted 1 Corinthians 11 as meaning women should have uncut hair, men should have short hair. It's pretty, if you read it, it's just real obvious. Whereas in the later half of the 20th century, and obviously into the 21st century, that has been crushed. And a lot of people trace that back to a speech given at Fuller Theological Seminary. I'll be let you looking at the table of contents and things while I'm talking. In 1948, where they said, we're going to try to keep America a Christian nation under John 3:16, and we're not going to emphasize holiness as had been holiness, before that time period. And so that's the reason today, what once was universal in America, there was I used to go in the New York Times and read about all the articles they had about ladies cutting hair and how the women cutting hair coming from France, and that America would not accept it and all this into the 20s. Remember the bobbed look? Goes into the biblical support for this. Now people just kind of say, oh, it's cultural or it's veils. When it's really weird, like the term veil is never mentioned in 1 Corinthians 11. And the fact that it's called, if you can culturalize that, when he talks about its creation, nature itself teaches you this, goes back to Adam and Eve. That's kind of weird too. But she just does a masterful job in this. This is just incredible. Even has some quotes on the back, like from Paula Fass, fashion historian. Historians have long recognized that for better or worse, American culture was remade in the 1920s. Show you some other things. Bobbed hair is a state of mind and not merely a new manner of dressing my head. A new manner. Think about that. I consider getting rid of our long hair one of the many little shackles that women have cast aside in their passage to freedom. Whatever helps their emancipation from male oppression, however small it may seem, it is worthwhile. Opera star Mary Garden, 1920. But you can see, that this... So it's very historical, very well documented. It never ceases to amaze me that an overall premise can be true. Somebody might find one or two, and I'm not saying I found any in this, but they might find one or two things that they don't like, and that they try to invalidate an entire premise from one or two misstatements or something, and that's not true, obviously. Although their conscience bothered them to keep their minds off the war, people flocked to theaters in 1915 to watch vampire Theda Bara seduce and destroy them. Three major factors inspired the phenomenon of bobbing: the early women's rights movement, World War I, infant film industry. Because you remember in the 30s, you had the Hays Code, written by a Presbyterian minister, came into being. So this is just a great book. If you can get a copy of this, I got this from Pentecostal Publishing House, July of 1997. Roaring Twenties, The Flapper, the long and the short of it. Newspapers told of divorces and suicides because wives bobbed their hair. The reports were of employers who protest, of educators who condemn, of superintendents of hospitals who storm. You remember, even in the 30s, I think I did a video a few years ago. Even like your very wealthy people in the Northeast came up with the Women's Dress Society, how to dress. You had people getting arrested for wearing pants in Chicago. Tucson, Arizona had an ordinance against it till just recently. Even in the 1990s, the first woman who wore pants in the Senate was in the 1990s. So, women, the dominant gender, encouraging male is gender blending, harmless. Goes into all of this. New York Times, women, they're changing roles. A history of women in America. We're looking at the reference, women dressing the part. Know the women's history. So, I mean, this is a very, again, well-documented book. Used a lot of secular sources. The New York Times, Religion, the Great Contemporary Issues series, Radical Rags, Fashion in the 60s, California Law on Pants Signals Change and How Companies View Performance. That's from 1994. So a lot of stuff. So, I mean, you can hate history, whatever, but history's true. And this is a historic look at history. So this is just a great book. I'd get this, definitely. Talk with you later. God bless you. Live for Jesus. Amen.